who are expected to appear before the committee this month. This includes Head of Crime Intelligence Dumisani Khumalo and former IPID boss Robert McBride. O'Sullivan claims he informed Parliament as early as November last year that he will not appear in person due to safety concerns.
Any attempt to get me into a position where I will be unarmed and can be murdered, I'm going to resist. I've got a constitutional right to life, and I note that it's criminals in Parliament that are calling for me to attend in person, and I'm not going to fall for that trick from criminals.
Oral hearings are scheduled to resume this week, with former Acting National Police Commissioner Khumotso Polane set to appear on Wednesday. Arun Singh, Eyewitness News.
In the Western Cape, the Disaster Management and Fire and Rescue Services Department says it's recorded double the number of call-outs compared to the previous fire season as firefighting efforts continue in parts of the province. The department has contracted 21 helicopters to provide aerial support to ground crews across the province. Chief Director Colin Dana says one structure was lost in the Paarl and Franschhoek fire, which has since been contained. He adds that fires in Oudtshoorn and Heidelberg have been brought under control, while the Stanford fire in Gansbaai remains a concern. Dennis says landowners in Genadendal and Greyton are also assisting firefighting efforts.
This year is much different. We've had double the amount of call-outs that we've had at the same time last year. So we do contract a lot of aircraft between ourselves, Winelands, Overberg and the other districts. Fortunately, the SANDF provided us with the aircraft which did amazing work.
Meanwhile, the Wimmershoek fire near Franschhoek remains active. Multiple flare-ups were contained yesterday after hot temperatures and windy conditions fanned flames. Cape Winelands District Municipality spokesperson Aneska Roet says no injuries or property damage have been reported, while the SPCA remains on standby for animals.
Monitoring and mopping up operations continue in areas where the fire has been contained. Fireline conditions will be assessed, after which actions for the next operational period will be determined.
Basic Education Minister Siviwe Kwagube has heaped praise on the country's top matric achievers. Speaking in Johannesburg this morning, the National Senior Certificate Top Achievers Breakfast and Award Ceremony, she said true excellence is not just about top academic results, but about perseverance. 40 learners from various schools in the country are being honoured today. Jabulile Mbata has more.
Basic Education Minister Siviwe Kwagube congratulated the group of matriculants for their hard work, saying they are the pride of the nation. She added their achievements are as a result of hard work and perseverance. Kwagube referred to Greek mythology to describe their efforts and sacrifice.
A man that was condemned by Zeus to push a very heavy boulder up a steep hill. Each time he reached the top, the boulder would roll back down again and it would have to begin all over again. And for many years, I believe the story has perhaps been misunderstood. It's often been told as a story of tragedy, a tale of endless suffering and futility.
More than 900,000 grade 12 candidates sat to write the National Senior Certificate exams. Minister Kwagube will announce the official results of the class of 2025 final exams later today. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News.
The South African Weather Service has issued an orange level 9 warning for disruptive rain in Limpopo and Mpumalanga today. This is up from yesterday's level 6 warning. Both provinces have been battered by heavy rains for several days due to tropical moisture. Widespread flooding and damage to infrastructure is again expected today. Spokesperson for the South African National Parks, JP Lowe, says the inclement weather led to the evacuation of some campsites to less affected parts of the Kruger National Park.
SANParks strongly urges all guests and staff to adhere strictly to no entry and road closure signage, avoiding driving through flooded roads or low-lying bridges, and refrain from removing logs, debris, or barriers placed on roads. The safety of visitors, staff, and surrounding communities remains SANParks' highest priority. The South African Weather Service will continue to closely monitor the situation.
Meanwhile, the South African Weather Service has issued an advisory for very hot to extremely hot and uncomfortable conditions for the Western and Northern Cape. Temperatures there are expected to peak at lows of 40. President Cyril Ramaphosa is set to meet with titans of industry and business leaders in the United Arab Emirates in another investment drive. Ramaphosa and his delegation will meet with business leaders on the sidelines on an official visit to the UAE, which kicks off today. This is part of the Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, which brings together the the heads of state and government, private sector leaders and civil society to promote collaboration across the board. Nukayam Tambo has more.
The UAE is a major investor in the South African economy across various sectors, including transport, logistics and renewable energy. In 2024, bilateral trade between both countries surpassed the $5 billion mark. South Africa's exports to the UAE increased by 5% compared to 2023, while imports from the UAE dropped 25% over the same period. Spokesperson for the presidency, Vincent Makwenye.
South Africa maintains cordial bilateral relations with the UAE.
President Cyril Ramaphosa will be joined by Minister of International Relations Ronald Lamola, Minister in the Presidency Khumbudzo Ntshabeni, Trade and Industry Minister Park Stow, and the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development Mamoloko Kubai. Nokukhanya Mtambo, Eyewitness News.
Gold's trading at $4,593.37 an ounce. The rand's at 16.42 to the dollar, at 22.09 to the pound, at 19.18 to the euro. Brent crude oil is at $62.99 a barrel.
In the traffic, look out for those faulty traffic lights in Randburg, at Witkoop and in Riverbend, as well as in Marlborough at Marlborough Drive and the M1 South.
A look at your weather. It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with isolated showers and thunder showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs between 26 and 28 degrees. It's clear skies in the mother city this afternoon with a fresh southeasterly breeze at a high of 28 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. Private investigator Paul O'Sullivan is adamant that he'll not appear in person before Parliament's ad hoc committee probing police corruption.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. You're with Mandy Wiener on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. On the show today, top matric achievers celebrated as the results are due to be released tonight. We'll speak to the CEO of the IEB. The DA calls for police in KZN to wear body cameras. An update on the Cape Winelands fires and the Kruger Park floods. And we'll wrap up the weekend sport. All of that over the next hour.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app. DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Report on 702 and Cape Talk with me, Mandy Wiener. Great to be back with you again. I hope those of you who have started work today feeling refreshed and ready to tackle the year. How did you spend your December break? I spent a lot of my time reading. December's for fiction. You know, I do one non-fiction book every week on this show. So I only read non-fiction during the year. And December for me is fiction. So I read about 6 or 7 fiction books. What did you read this December? Tell me about any good books that you got involved in, any recommendations. I'd love to hear what you were reading over the December break. You can send me a WhatsApp voice note 072-702-1702, 072-567-1567. And I do believe reading is the foundation of a really strong education. And of course, that's what we're talking about today. That's where we start the show, is education. The release of the matric results tonight. And always that air of excitement, anticipation, nerves. The top matric achievers celebrated today. The Basic Education Minister, Siviwe Gwachube, attending that and addressing learners at that event today, saying that all matriculants should be proud of their hard work and determination. Our reporter, Jabulile Mbata, was at that event today and joins us now. Jabulile, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. Tell us about what the Basic Education Minister had to say.
Good afternoon, Mandy. It's really been a joyous occasion here in Fair and in Randburg, rather. What the minister was saying is that, you know, there's learners from different quintiles. It's not only quintile 5 learners who are here today, and even amongst us are learners with disabilities. She's saying that this really shows that the department is focused on providing quality education across the board. But one of the things that she said is really important is that the support and the guidance from parents and guardians. she's saying that yes, with the increasing pressure that provinces like Gauteng and Western Cape are receiving in terms of population, it means that there are more learners and ultimately even matric learners. So this year, what we saw, there were more than 900,000 candidates who were writing the national senior certificates. But she did emphasize that the department provided quite a lot of support. But, obviously she addressed also the elephant in the room, which those 40 learners who were found to have been cheating in schools in Tshwane. And maybe let's just take a listen to hear what the update on what the consequences are for those learners.
And we had said the investigative task team has given us a report and with a number of recommendations. Some of those recommendations are short term, some of them are longer term. So for instance, one of the things that we had decided to do is to not issue the results under embargo in a longer period of time like we usually do. Those were some of the things that we did to try and mitigate a potential leak, for instance, like we had last year with EduMarks. But some of the other recommendations are really about strengthening our security systems within the Department of Basic Education. Within exams, already the exam unit is already a very secure place, but we're wanting to make sure that our systems are better.
So Jabulile, of course, addressing that issue around that breach. But today really was about a celebration of those matriculants that did well. They're always invited the day before the results are released. Tell us a bit about those individuals and anything that stood out for you amongst them.
So we have learners who are quite excited. I mean, they don't really know their results yet, but, they did say, obviously being here and acknowledged as the top 40 really means they did well. So you've got a lot of learners saying that they want to go into either medicine or science, which is also something the department, even in the previous years, has called for, emphasizing that it is really important to take these subjects where, the demand for jobs is. So you've got a lot of learners who are saying that they actually do want to go into that path, whether it's actual science or engineering. Those are some of the subjects or some of the courses that they think they want to do in universities.
And Jabulile, overall, was the minister satisfied with the results?
She was indeed. She says, the teachers really also need to be applauded for the hard work that they put in. But again, emphasize that the department is, here willing to give the support and also has plans to, better technology to assist both learners and teachers. But so far, she's really pleased with how they have done.
Jabulile, thank you very much. Jabulile Mbata, EWN reporter at that event taking place today. The Basic Education Minister, Siviwe Gwahube, speaking there about the results. Those will be released in the newspapers tonight. Your exam numbers, your marks, but not the names or surnames, remember. That's the important bit following that court judgment. But the Minister addressing all of those high achievers today, congratulating them, saying that behind every matriculant is a family that has sacrificed, and also just congratulating them for their resilience and their discipline. That is the National Senior Certificate. Those results to be released tonight.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
The Independent Examinations Board has also announced the results of the 2025 National Senior Certificate Examinations. The overall pass rate for IEB is at 98.31%. Let's speak now to the IEB CEO, Confidence de Kgole, who joins us on the line. Confidence, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Good afternoon, Mandy. Good afternoon to the listeners, and thank you for having us.
Speak us through the IEB results this year and how they compare to previous years.
So this year, the class of 2025 attained an overall pass rate of 98.31. It may appear like it's a decline or a decrease, but that's not how we're looking at it. And I'll tell you why. We're framing this within a context of the broader landscape that we're finding ourselves in as the IEB. The IEB has been growing tremendously over the past few years. And if you look at growth in the last 2 years, it's 15% growth. And so when you see such growth in any assessment system, you ought to expect that there will be fluctuations in terms of performance, and that's what we are seeing. We knew this was going to happen, but nonetheless, what is of importance is to note that performance, it has not really dropped. It's rigorous, it's high, standards are being maintained, and I think at the end of the day, that's really what matters, that standards are being maintained. And these learners have really done very well. If you look at performance in the bachelor pass, those that attained bachelor pass rate, it's better than what we had in 2023. And that is what speaks to the quality of the passes. The fact that 89% of these learners could attain a bachelor pass rate, that really speaks for itself in terms of the standard that is being maintained here. So we're confident and reassured, yeah.
You speak about the increase in numbers of students who wrote the IEB exams. What do you attribute that to? A total of just over 16,000 full-time candidates. Why are more people writing the IEB exams?
So last year, 2025, we had 9 new schools writing the IEB exam. So if I can just backtrack a bit. In 2023, we had about 16, 17 new schools. 2024, we had 9 new schools, and last year we had 9 new schools. So that speaks to the growth where schools are, and perhaps it speaks to confidence and trust in the IEB system, where more and more schools are wanting to write the IEB. And so, and also I must just indicate that the growth is also, it's an organic growth within the IEB system itself, where schools are growing, and so numbers are growing within the schools that have been with the IEB for a while now. But yeah, it's new schools that are choosing the IEB system.
In terms of monitoring and quality assurance, we have seen some issues, or just one issue really, with the National Senior Certificate with a leak and a security breach there. What kind of monitoring have you been doing, and in terms of working with Umalusi?
So the IEB has a monitoring system that's twofold. We monitor schools through a camera system. So all the schools that drive the IEB exam have cameras installed. And so as soon as the exam starts, our staff at the IEB are able to monitor in the exam venue, exactly see, like you're there physically, what happens in that system, in the classroom. And in addition to that, we've appointed monitors that then go and do physical monitoring. It's just really a backup plan to intensify monitoring that we do. So that's what we've done. Last year we had about 115 physical monitoring instances that took place. And really it's to ensure that credibility is maintained in the exam, and for schools to know that there is that intense monitoring from the IEB.
Also, those students who are receiving their results, there is a time period for remarks. Well, what is that?
For remark? Correct. Yes. So, and I mean, this happens with every exam. So, should a learner feel that probably they want to just double check if the mark they got is indeed accurate, they can apply to the IEB for a remark. It happens in all the exams, and there is a process. This has been communicated to learners and to schools where they apply and they have their scripts remarked.
Confidence, thank you so much. Appreciate your time, and all the best for the next year.
Thank you so much, Mandy. Thank you very much.
Confidence Dikgole, the CEO of the IEB. Real growth needs more than just banking, and Nedbank Commercial Banking is your growth partner. Their team of industry experts understand your business and its potential, offering insight to help you see opportunity where others see obstacles. Because when you can see what others don't, you can do what others can't. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
This festive, when your family gathers, feed them the Nando's Festive Fill-Up meal. Feed Auntie, who's in charge of the key to that storeroom. And feed that niece that makes the strict grandparents do TikTok challenges. And that cousin that watches the same movie that comes in part 1, 2, 3, 4, and many more. Yeah, you can feed it too. Gather them all for the Nando's Festive Fill-Up meal for only $3.99. Eat at Nando's and pay 40 Rand less. Nando's, oh, what a place.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car full of groceries and a lady who will be attempting to make her mother-in-law's famous recipe for the family dinner tonight.
5 mils of sugar.
The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's butterflies and a potential bonding moment. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
WhatsApp Mandy
On 072 702 1702.
Afternoon, Mandy. I started reading the book Elephantums from Lyle Watson. Beautiful book to read. I think at this stage one of my favorite books.
Hi, Mandy. Welcome back. I read the book on Sol Kerzner, the guy who started Sun International and Southern Sun, was responsible for Sun City and all these other massive hotels. And I actually read it while driving to the Wild Coast Sun. My wife was driving, so I read 250 pages and was awesome.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for letting us know. Lee says, I read The Housemaid and my 9-year-old daughter read 52-Story Treehouse. And yeah, quite a few messages coming through from different people about what they read. What did you read this December break? I read a lot of fiction. I read about 6 or 7 different books, and I'd love to hear from you. What did you spend your holiday reading? Send me a WhatsApp voice note, 072 702 1702, 072 567 1567.
702. Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays 12 to 1 p.m.
The Democratic Alliance formally calling on the Ministry of Police to urgently brief Parliament on the stalled rollout of police body-worn cameras. So the DA wants the police, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal, to be wearing body cams. And if you've been following this ICE shooting in the US, you'll know, of course, how absolutely critical the body cam footage has proven in terms of showing us what really, really happened there. What are your thoughts on police wearing body cams? Is there a downside? Is this something that should be happening, particularly in light of the number of shootouts that we're seeing in KZN specifically? Well, let's speak now to the DA's NCOP member, Mzamo Billy, who joins us. Mzamo, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time today. What is the DA asking the Ministry of Police to do here?
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your listeners. And thank you for inviting us to come and clarify this issue. It is quite correct that we've now revived a call to the Minister of Police, Minister Kachalia, that he needs to come and account to Parliament with regards to the use of police body-worn cameras. You would recall that last year, the year before that, in 2024, the then Minister of Police, Minister Mchunu, had informed Parliament that they were in the process of procuring police body-worn cameras, which is an issue that the DA has consistently asked that it be done. So eventually the minister had agreed, and there was a budget put in place, and the use of the procurement and the use were to at least begin in April 2025. Now it is January 2026, and there is absolutely no indication on where they are with this process. We have asked numerous times, but there isn't any clear indication. And what we basically want is for the ministry to come to Parliament where the commitment and the undertaking was done, and give an update on what the challenge could be and why this has not been done, particularly on the rise of the interactions we are seeing between the police and the suspects, and not just in KZN, but across South Africa. Obviously, KZN, having a much more incidents that we have been seeing in the past few months.
You have repeatedly raised the urgent need for body-worn cameras during these committee meetings. What are the pros? What are the upsides? Why do you think this should be happening? And is this isolated to KZN or across the country?
Well, what we have seen is that the use of police body-worn cameras is not only of benefit to the public and for the sake of transparency and so on, but the use of body cameras is of great benefit to the police, to the citizens, and we've seen that where it's been used, there's been far less, complaints against the police, but also there's far more public trust in as far as the interactions between the citizens and the police is concerned. So there is sufficient evidence to show that there is far more benefits. But what people must also understand is that this is not to catch out any person or the police for that matter. It is really for the sake of transparency and for the sake of ensuring that those interactions, especially among the tactical units who deal with very complex matters and engagements with criminals and so on, that all of that is, it's something that is seen, and that we ensure that everyone is protected by that process.
Mzamo Billy, the DA-NCOP member and spokesperson on security and justice, speaking to us there. Look, I agree with this call, and I don't think that there's sufficient reason as to why it hasn't happened. I understand that there's a cost issue of getting body cams for police officers. There's the technology issue, but it really would be in the interest of the police in terms of the veracity of versions that they present us. So often there's criticism of the police about these shootings. Were they armed? Were they shot at first? Is it because the police don't want us to see? I don't think that's the case. I think it would really entrench the trust relationship with the police. So it's something that I would agree with. What are your thoughts on that? Should police be wearing body cams?
7:02, the Midday Report, Monday to Friday,
12 to 1 p.m.
The TRC commission, the commission into TRC crimes that's been underway, there's been a call for Justice Sisi Khampepe to recuse herself from that. The former presidents, Jacob Zuma and Thabo Mbeki, are both asking for the recusal of Sisi Khampepe. Khomotso Modise, EWN reporter, joining us in studio. So are they doing this individually, together? How's it working?
So they are doing it individually, Mandy. They filed papers individually and they've made separate arguments, even though their arguments are very similar. I think both former presidents agree that, or they've pointed out the fact that Sisi Khampepe was one of the commissioners of the TRC, and that's where they raise, the fact that there may be a bit of a conflict there, bias on her part, of course, because, they're arguing that the work of the TRC is going to be part of this inquiry, even though the terms of reference are rather clear, Mandy, that what's being investigated here is what happened post the TRC. So this is anything after 2003 on whether and why the prosecutions of apartheid-era crimes didn't go ahead. But they've also pointed out the fact that she was a deputy director of public prosecutions, and her time at the NPA, they say, is pivotal because it was in the late 90s. Again, that was during the time that the TRC was sitting, and some of the reports were being handed over to the president at the time. So both former presidents, they've raised an issue around conflict. But former President Jacob Zuma takes it a step further, and he believes that there's a personal vendetta against him because Justice Sisi Khampepe is the judge that penned that judgment against him that resulted in his arrest, and of course resulted in, which ultimately where we saw the July unrest. They go as far as saying that she's got blood on her hands and she has no business in dealing with this. So both parties have filed their papers ahead of the formal sitting where we will hear their application for her recusal on Friday.
And this, I imagine, it has a knock-on effect on the actual Commission's work.
Yes, Mandy, a big question is why they only filed these, the intention to to apply for her recusal so late. I mean, that came in December, and we know that Khampepe was announced as the chair of this commission in May already, when she was appointed by President Cyril Ramaphosa. And the argument that they make is they were waiting, or they hadn't been served with the Rule 3.3 notice. And what that basically means is that, that notice is served in an instance reports around a commission of inquiry, that speaks to the fact that there has been an allegation made against you, or you have been implicated in some allegations that may be dealt with in the commission. They say they hadn't received the Rule 3.3 until months later. And they say, both of them say in their papers, had no business bringing a recusal application because they hadn't been informed of the potential allegations that may be made against them.
Khomotso, thank you very much. Khomotso Modise, EWN reporter, giving us that explainer there on this application for Judge Sisi Khampepe to be recused as the head of the TRC Commission. 12:30, time for Eyewitness News headlines.
Thanks, Mandy. Good afternoon. We begin in the Western Cape, where the Disaster Risk Management Department says close to 2,500 people have been affected by the Dunuan fire. The department says the figures are not conclusive and the final count will be completed and registered today. It has confirmed that 589 structures were destroyed in the blaze that broke out on Friday. The department is calling for donations of non-perishable foods, personal hygiene items and baby toiletries and formula. The Democratic Alliance says International Relations and Cooperation Minister Ronald Lamola's defense of hosting the BRICS military exercise shows a deep ineptitude of foreign affairs. The party condemned Lamola for his public defense of hosting sanctioned Iranian and Russian naval vessels during the BRICS exercise at the Simonstown Naval Base in Cape Town. The Navy exercise takes place as South Africa and U.S. tensions continue over the country's close ties to America's main adversaries. And U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to take Greenland one way or another. Trump says this move is critical for U.S. national security given increased Russian and Chinese military activity in the Arctic. He's also warned that Russia and China would take over the territory if Washington didn't act. Those are the headlines. This Eyewitness News and more at 1 o'clock or as it happens.
EWN Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Tolagile Mganga. Manchester United will play a 40-game season for the first time since the 1914-15 campaign. That's after they were knocked out of the FA Cup by Brighton. The Red Devils lost 2-1 as Shea Lacey was sent off for bouncing a ball too aggressively. And with 17 games left in their season, interim coach Darren Fletcher insists they can turn their campaign around.
There's still a Champions League place to fight for, and I still think that can be achieved this season. But probably the objective this season, with the quality we've got and the league positions and how tight it is, they've still got a lot of league games left that they can achieve that. So that's where all their focus and energy is going into, improving as a team, improving quickly, and don't waste the season.
Tonight, Liverpool hosts lower league side Barnsley, who play in the third tier of English football. And with Macclesfield having knocked out holders Crystal Palace, Barnsley defender Josh Ill is hoping that they can cause their own upsets against the Reds.
Yeah, I think that's all you can do. You know, like I said, you're playing against one of the best teams in the world. The quality that Liverpool are going to have is going to be unbelievable, and all we've got to do is go there, enjoy the occasion, but most of all, give up, like you said, a good account for ourselves, for our fans, and for the club and the town, really.
And India's Rishabh Pant has been ruled out of the 3 ODIs against New Zealand because of a side strain that he sustained in training. The wicketkeeper batsman will be replaced in the squad by Jarav Jaral. The series will be followed by 5 T20s ahead of the T20 World Cup, which is underway on the 7th of February. Tolagile Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
In the traffic, good afternoon from the E-Traffic W desk. Traffic lights are out in Edenvale at Monagfontein and Van Riebeek. Also in Randburg at Witkopen and Riverbend. They are causing slow-moving traffic there. As well as in Marlborough at Marlborough Drive and the M1 South. In the city of Tshwane, traffic lights are also out. This is in Centurion at Old Johannesburg and 8 Sig. And also in Groenkloof at N14 and Eufus Road. Otherwise, not much happening on the road. Traffic is free-flowing. But if you come across any traffic, please do send a WhatsApp on 072-702-1702 or send us a tweet on X at EWN Traffic.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. WhatsApp Mandy on 072-702-1702.
Hi, Mandy. Yes, the body cams, I think it will work in the interest of justice and the community, the trust, and for the police as well, to ensure that what they are doing is according to the law and everything. But I hope that this request must not be based on wanting to persecute the police over the perpetrator. So the police will be able to show us that we acted in self-defense and there was aggression from the perpetrators, but I think it will work in the interest of the police, but the perpetrators as well must be held to accountable for the crimes that they are committing. So yeah, I support the idea. Obi, thank you very much.
Good day, Mandy. This is Semi. Not only should police officers wear body cameras, but their interrogations of suspects as well should be recorded on video camera and on audio. Because we've seen many instances where people have been forced into confessions, have been forced to sign confessions for crimes that they didn't commit. So that also should happen.
Yes, absolutely agree to the body cams. What I don't agree with is that the cost in itself would be problematic for the state. I just think if the state buys less BMWs, they could possibly afford these cameras. Linda in Johannesburg. Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you for all of those WhatsApp voice notes coming through there on the issue of body cams. Dennis says, hi, Mandy. Not only body cams, police should have a clear name badge. Cannot understand why they don't. That's from Dennis. Lots of response there on this issue of body cams. I think it would be so much better for transparency, for building trust with the police. And I agree, for interrogations, how often do we see accused come into court and say, I was interrogated? And that delays the entire criminal process of trying to achieve justice. Also on the WhatsApp line, Alan says, hi, Mandy. I read a trilogy by Bill Clinton and James Patterson. Enjoyable, excellent thrillers. Well, that's a good recommendation. That's been on my list, so thank you very much. And then there's another one that says, I read Fever by Dion Meyer. Oh, big Dion Meyer fan. I haven't actually read Fever. It's the only one I haven't. Or have I read it? Can't remember. I've read all of Dion Meyer's books. He's excellent, excellent. So let me know, what did you read over the December holidays? Send me a WhatsApp voice note.
7:02.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Let's walk the talk.
So at the one end of the country, we have fires. At the other far end, on the northeast, we have floods. So let's give you an update on both of those. The Western Cape Local Government MEC, Anton Bredell, the Cape Winelands, the mayor, the Drakensberg mayor, the Stellenbosch mayor, all visiting the Incident Command Center at the Drakensberg Correctional Center today to have a look at the situation with the current wildfires in the Cape Winelands district that have been burning over the past few days. And Tutuzelo Nene, EWN reporter, was there for us and joins us now to give us an update. And Tutuzelo, good afternoon to you. Firstly, let's start with an update on the actual fires. What is the current status of these various fires that have been burning?
Good afternoon, Mandy. The fire in the Overberg region or district, that is Gansbaai, both the Pelly Beach and the Stanford fire, are still burning out of control with multiple structures destroyed. But the fire in the Cape Winelands district has been contained, but there's still lots of firefighting to be done in the mountainous areas of the Cape Winelands district, and the MEC of local government and environmental affairs, as you mentioned, Anton Bredell, briefing us about the status of these fires, and saying that, you know, in the past few weeks it felt like the Western Cape was under attack by all these multiple wildfires that we've experienced in Mossel Bay, at the Cape Winelands district, as I mentioned, also in the Overberg area as well, Mandy.
And in terms of roads that are being affected and evacuations, what is the status on all of that?
There was one evacuation that, you know, they told us about here in the Cape Winelands district at a campsite where there were about I think about 300 boys who were camping there. They had to be evacuated last week, Wednesday. But as far as roads are concerned, all roads are still open as far as we know. But there's lots of mop-up operations and monitoring of these fires that is still happening in the Cape Winelands district and also in the Overberg region.
And in terms of any other messages that they're sending through to the public that should be aware of?
People are asked to stay clear of these areas where there's still active firefighting going on, but, really thanking the communities, especially the farming communities here, the farmers who've come on board to help, the firefighters, either, bringing them, necessary, things that they need like water and energy drinks and energy bars, and really helping, with the firefighting that is currently happening in these districts, various districts that are still experiencing these fires, Mandy.
Ntutuzelo, thank you very much. Ntutuzelo Nene, EWN reporter, giving us an update there on that briefing taking place about the various fires that are burning in the Overberg area, the Drakenstein correctional facility. That's where the main kind of headquarters has been set up. So that's an update on the fires. Let's now speak about the flooding, because something we don't see happening very often, a level 6 weather warning being issued for severe thunderstorms in Limpopo and in Mpumalanga, and the Kruger being affected by that. If you've seen footage of some of the rivers or the river in the Kruger National Park being affected, swelling, evacuations in some areas there as well. Reynold Tatuki is the spokesperson for the Kruger National Park and joins us now. Reynold, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time today. What is the current situation across the Kruger?
Good afternoon, Mandy, and thank you for having me. The weather services has actually, as you indicated, issued a level 6 for severe weather conditions, and we're definitely seeing a lot of rain in the Kruger National Park, which has really necessitated that we proactively, remove or move some of the guests from, especially those that were in bush camps, those that were camping with tents. We moved them to chalets. So the situation currently, we've got some bridges that are underwater in the park, but we are monitoring it, and we are, as needed, move people from various areas to safe areas.
Are there specific areas that are being particularly affected?
Yes, certainly the Giriondo border post as well as Pafuri border post are closed. The Punda Maria Gate is closed. Currently, Shingwezi Rest Camp has been completely evacuated. And as I indicated, all the bush camps have also been evacuated. Guests that are also staying at Lower Sabi as well as Crocodile Bridge Rest Camp will not be able to have access to Skukuza. Therefore, we are encouraging them to actually exit or enter the park through the Crocodile Bridge. We are also monitoring that bridge because the water seems to be rising quite rapidly.
For people who are planning a visit to the Kruger, what is your advice to them? Should they cancel, or what should they do?
Yeah, we actually encourage them to amend their booking or cancel or move them to a later date. And what is also interesting is that we will not be charging any penalties for moving their bookings to a later date, because we also want them to enjoy the park in a safer way. So we are encouraging them to please consider other means.
And in terms of the frequency of this, it's something we don't see very often, Reynold. How prepared are you for this kind of situation in the Kruger?
Look, we've been quite prepared. As I indicated that we were proactive enough before the rain started last week to move guests to safer areas, and also advise those that have not really reached the park as yet to reconsider cancelling or amending their bookings. So we're really prepared for this one.
Obviously, a lot of concern about the humans, the humanoids that are affected by this. Animals at all? Anything to be worried about?
No, animals, they are able to react, with this kind of situations. They actually move to higher areas when we experience this flood. So there's really nothing to be concerned about there.
Brilliant. Reynold, thank you so much. Reynold Takuli is the spokesperson for the Kruger National Park, speaking to us there. If you're in the Kruger, if you have been in the Kruger, have you been affected by that at all? Possible flooding, damage to infrastructure in both Limpopo and Mpumalanga from last night through today. Most of the week we're expecting severe thunderstorms, torrential downpours. If you've seen, I saw a video of the Crocodile River really looking swollen. And the explanation there of what's happening. And glad to hear that, of course, the animals take care of themselves, but the humans need to be looked after.
702. Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays, 12 to 1 p.m.
Now, for the humanoids that need to be looked after, who are flying back from holiday or are returning to wherever they need to be, the air traffic navigation services, there were a couple of issues. Last week there was an issue with ATNS, but that was quickly remedied. But very high volumes in terms of people just traveling, air traffic. So let's find out what's happening with the air traffic navigation services. And Mpilo Dlamini is the spokesperson for ATNS and joins us now. Mpilo, good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time. I imagine a really big peak yesterday as people were returning to home from a holiday. What is the current situation?
Yes, thank you so much, Mandy, and good afternoon to your listeners. Yes, yesterday was the second busiest travel weekend for South Africa, and we saw that even happening at our airports. For instance, yesterday we were managing traffic of about 50 or more flights per hour, something that shows actually that this was the highest peak of the travel weekend as people were returning home. But I'm happy, Mandy, that everything went according to our plans. We invested a lot of planning, focus on planning, so it went according to our plans. We didn't have any glitches. There were no disruptions. Everything went according to our plans.
And in terms of the rest of the week?
Yes, if we look at the rest of the week, I think we are not expecting or anticipating any disruptions. You know, what normally then makes things even worse is the weather. I remember yesterday when we had our weather forecast, it was like forecasted that around 3 or in the afternoon yesterday there might be thunderstorms. Fortunately, they were not that severe, so there were no disruptions. According to the forecast for the rest of the week, I don't foresee, serious weather conditions that may affect us. Obviously, as you know, we put safety first. In the event that the inclement weather conditions are serious, then there will be those kind of disturbances. But I think those will be understood by our stakeholders as well as the flying public.
There were some issues with staff over December into early January. Is that all sorted and is everything now stable?
Yes, like you remember, Mandy, last week Sunday we had that temporary and isolated case of staffing constraints. I think that one was resolved the following day. We couldn't actually experience such. All staffing levels that are required at all our stations and our pools, they are adequately resourced. So we are not anticipating any issue that happened last week.
Mpilo, thank you very much. Mpilo Dlamini is the spokesperson for ATNS, the Air Traffic Navigation System, speaking to us there about the current situation. Interesting lot that this weekend was the second busiest weekend for travel in South Africa. I imagine that December is by far the biggest, but they seem to have coped. What was your experience at the airports? Did you get through easily? 50 flights per hour, and that's pretty big. Obviously, compared to some of the big European centres and American centres, it isn't. But for us, I think it really is. But glad to hear that they seem to have been able to handle that sufficiently.
702.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Let's walk the talk.
I did ask the question, what have you been reading over December? Hi, Mandy. I'm loving political biographies at the moment. I read Letter to My Mother by Kumi Naidu. Excellent read. Remember, we had Kumi on the show to speak about his book. Really, really good book as well. Matthew's Posa, super biography. These two political activists, in my opinion, should be called back to serve in politics. They're so upright and sincere and ethical. I'm currently reading Amit Katrada's biography, enjoying it thoroughly. And then, hi, Mandy, from Margaret. I read Ivan Vladislavich's The Near North. Oh, I've also read that. Very good. Such a treat. Keen observation and commentary on life in Joburg. It's such an important Joburg book. The Near North. Highly recommend that. And then afternoon, Mandy from Kenneth. I read an interesting book, Gone Before Goodbye by Reese Witherspoon, co-authored by Harlan Coben. I'm still trying to decide if it was extremely good or just good. So Kenneth, I read that book too over December, and I read it in like a day. It was riveting. It is so far-fetched though. It's the perfect December read because it's escapism. It's very Harlan Coben. But I thought it was a bit far-fetched. Thank you so much for letting me know what you've been reading over December.
Hi, Mandy. I read Frederick Backman's My Friends, which I absolutely love. And I'm now reading Dion Meyer's Scorpio in Afrikaans. And it is just brilliant. Thank you, Dion, for writing another book for us. I can't wait for the next one again.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a parent and a nervous but excited kid practicing her lines to put on a show-stopping performance at the school play. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a future superstar on the move. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Need a seat? Try 7 or 5, it's your call. Want a sunroof? Make it a panoramic. Gotta have power? How does award-winning 138 kilowatt sound? The Changan CS75 Pro is big enough for the kids, smart enough for your playlist, and stylish enough for your Friday night too. Why settle when you can have it all without compromise? The Changan CS75 Pro. Drive tomorrow's SUV today. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more.
Changan, driven to evolve.
Breakfast with Bongani Bengwa.
Your morning fix of current events,
Developing stories.
and a whole lot more.
We share information, not because we have it.
But because it matters to you, we give a platform not just to newsmakers, but to you.
Who are directly affected by what's happening in the news.
We'll expand your worldview, but bring you closer to who you really are.
Empowered, confident.
Ready for those conversations around the water cooler.
Breakfast with Bongani Bengwa, 6 to 9 a.m.
Only on 702. Let's walk the talk. WhatsApp Mandy
on 072 702 1702.
But on the issue of the body cams, I think it's absolutely critical. Should, however, come with some kind of demerit for the cops if the battery's flat or the machine's broken, the camera's broken or whatever, because otherwise that'll be the excuse. And I think it needs to go hand in hand with the name, surname, and badge number, or whatever they call it, being sewn onto their clothes. Not a badge that they can take off. It needs to be sewn on the clothes. So when you ask them to identify themselves, you can just take a picture of who they are. I think it's critical, and any delay in this is just absolutely pandering to the unions, in my opinion.
Good afternoon, Mandy, and Happy New Year. Look, man, we do need body cams on police. Number one, to curb corruption. There is too much corruption. There is trust deficit within the police. Even with the killings of criminals allegedly in KZN. I think the KZN right now is the leading province where criminals are being shot at by the police in confrontation with the police. So somewhere, somehow, I think we need to draw the line that in doing that, we must make sure that we maintain the law and we respect the rule of law. Because if we can allow these things to happen over and over, we won't notice or we won't know when the police are overdoing this thing or when someone taking advantage of that advantage of shooting over the criminal. So we do need body cams on police. Fiso.
Thank you very much. Look, I think it's in the police's interest to do this. And this isn't to try and catch them out. It isn't to try and vilify the police. I think it's in their interest for transparency to show if they keep telling us that these gangs are shooting at them and they're acting in self-defense, then show us. We'll believe them. We won't critique them. So I agree. I think it's absolutely imperative. On the WhatsApp line, Robin says, the new Thursday Murder Club mystery, The Impossible Fortune by Richard Osman, is an entertaining and fun read. Ooh, love some cozy crime. Very, very good. Great recommendations, guys. You've been reading widely and such a variety of things as well.
Sports Wrap on 702 and Cape Talk.
So if I wasn't reading, I was watching sport, and always very excited that the tennis season starts in January. Also with the time difference with Australia. Mwande Mateza, EWN sports reporter, joining us to have a look at what sport happened this weekend. I thought it was great, Mwande. The FA Cup was, if you look at Macclesfield, if you look at Wrexham, what romantic, wonderful stories for these small clubs.
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, Mandy. I don't think anybody could have seen the holders Crystal Palace being knocked out by Macclesfield. And there's a fascinating story there where the Macclesfield manager is actually Wayne Rooney's brother. And I found that to be one of those very interesting things. And I think a lot of people talk about the magic of the FA Cup, and we've spoken about it before, where, the unlikely happens. It's the cup of dreams, similar to the Nedbank Cup here in South Africa. And yeah, for once in a while, it does produce incredible results. More often than not, though, the Giants will go through.
Manchester United, though, yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be going from bad to worse. And just when we think we've hit rock bottom with Manchester United, they show us that they can go even lower. Fine, I mean, Brighton is a Premier League club, but for them to not have anything to play for in January is quite incredible. And that, of course, is to go along with that embarrassing League Cup defeat that they suffered against Grimsby Town a couple of months ago. So, yeah, I don't know what the problem is with Manchester United. I don't know where they start or even begin to think to fix it. But, yeah, I think if Manchester United supporters hold on, it could be a bumpy ride and it could go even lower.
And AFCON, of course, still underway. The defending champs, Ivory Coast knocked out Morocco, still looking good. Egypt looking good too.
Yeah, absolutely. Same with Senegal and Nigeria. And with the top four or the four remaining nations in this particular competition, I don't think it's an easy call for any of the teams. You can't really say who'll go through to the final. And each of them has gone about their business very differently. Nigeria have been spectacular throughout. They've scored the most goals, but Morocco have been miserly in defense, and they have to face each other. It's a really, really tough call whether, home ground advantage will out over there, or whether Nigeria, who have a point to prove after missing out on World Cup qualification, will, this is it for them. They've got nothing else to play for, so they're going to give it everything. But I do think that watch out for Senegal. They're my favorite at the moment. I'm not saying that they'll go on to win it, but there's just an efficiency in the way that they're going about their business. So I'm rooting for them.
And you love a prediction. I know that. And then all of our teams managed to lose in the Investec Champions Cup this weekend.
Yeah, and in absolutely terrible ways. It's so difficult supporting South African rugby teams sometimes when it comes to this domestic competition. You know that the overseas teams have more quality, but you expect more fight from the South African teams, and we didn't see that. Firstly, with the Bulls on Saturday, they were 21 points down in the first 7 minutes of the game. I've never seen that. I don't think that's ever happened before with the Bulls. And, I mean, they lost by 12 points in the end, but conceding 61 points, losing a seventh straight game in a row, it's absolutely awful times for Bulls rugby at the moment. And then for the Stormers yesterday as well, conceding 61 points. Wasn't a great showing at all. John Dobson has owned up to it. He says it was a humiliating defeat and the like. But yeah, you sort of expect more, and hopefully results will improve going into the last pool games this coming weekend.
Mwande, I've been to a couple of SA20 games, and I have to say it's been such a vibe. But more than that, I've been impressed by the diversity of the crowd in terms of age, gender, race, the works. We're seeing South Africa really being reflected in these games, and sold out crowds too. Also, Joburg can't catch.
Yeah, absolutely, Mandy. Cricket is South African. South African summer and cricket are synonymous with each other. And like you say, there's a diversity. I've seen a lot of, female fans going into the stadiums, a lot more than men in some instances as well. So the game is very much alive and it's thriving in South Africa at the moment. And it really is cool that the SA20 came about and sort of revived cricket when it was in a dull place, when only the national teams were worth any interest and the like. So yeah, SA20, long may it continue, because I do think it is fair. We might grumble that there's no test cricket this summer, but to have something like the SA20 in its place, yeah, I'll take it.
And also, how has Rickleton not been selected for the World Cup after 2 centuries in the SA20?
Do you know what, man? He didn't do it in the green and gold. He had plenty of chances with the Proteas national side. And then with Quinton de Kock coming back, it was a straight shootout between the two of them. He is in great form and you would want to see him there, but when he had the opportunities, he didn't replicate the form. And I do understand it's a very, very tough call. But when people start talking about, well, why is Jason Smith in there instead? Why is Tony DeZorzi there instead? I don't like it when players are pitted against each other. Fair enough, Rickleton is doing well, but yeah, he had his chances, only scored 250s in the 18 or so matches he's played. So yeah, nothing to write home about in the green and gold. He will have an opportunity again in the future, but yeah. It is what it is at the moment.
Mwande, thank you so much. I'm Mwande Mateza, EWN sports reporter, wrapping up the weekend sport for us.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
Great to be back with you. Looking forward to a busy news year. It's a local government election year. The DA's got an elective conference. Who knows what's going on with Donald Trump and Greenland and Iran. There's going to be lots to chat about, and I look forward to discussing it with you. The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. It's 1 o'clock.
This is EWN.
The Independent Examinations Board to release the results of the matric class of 2025, and thousands of Dunoon residents affected by destructive blaze as firefighting efforts continue in parts of the Western Cape.
This is EWN.